Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Wiseguys Sports Betting Show right here on the Picks and Parlays YouTube channel. As always, I'm Ross Benjamin, by the way, and I'm joined by Mr. Jesse Schule and Sean Higgs. We air this show every Tuesday, and we appreciate all the support we've got so far in this show. And we would kindly ask you to give us more support by just simply clicking on that like button. And if you have not, subscribe to Picks and Parlays YouTube channel. Take a second to do so. Costs you absolutely free. Click on that subscribe button. And while you're at it, go into your YouTube settings and click on the alert notification bell for Picks and Parlays YouTube channel. And you will be notified immediately upon not only this show, but all the great free pick videos and shows that go up on this channel. Jesse, how are you, man? I hope you had a great weekend.
I did, Ross. Coming off a big day at the ballpark. Looking forward to being here talking baseball with the legendary Sean Higgs, who's known for piling up the baseball winners recently.
Yeah, at the ballpark. What do you got, a park in Thailand now?
No, betting baseball. Ross.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like you went to see a AAA game in Thailand or something like that. Anyway, legendary Sean Higgs.
Legend in my own mind.
Well, legend in Jesse's mind. Anyway, I tell you, if there's ever a fan club for Sean Higgs, Jesse's picture will be right below as the president of operations. Go ahead, Sean. How are you, man?
Well, I mean, that insult you threw at me in backstage today was freaking horrendous. Oh, my goodness. Holy cow. Anyway, I'm doing all right. I had a nice little baseball weekend. My baseball weekend, I'm on a nice little baseball run. So I think I'm top of the leaderboards last week, and that's basically MLB led, although NBA has been okay as well. But, baseball. It's baseball time. We got what? We have 5 NBA games left, 6 with the finals or something, and hockey is hockey, but MLB is for me, and I got a 3-pack up, so go get it. I'm hot.
Yeah, there you go, Sean Higgs. He grinds it out, folks. He's a volume handicapper, but he also has told you time and time again you need to exercise strict money management when you jump on board with him, and his proven track record of grinding it out and coming up with a profit at the end of the year. And sports like Major League Baseball or the NHL, where there's a lot of money line betting, you don't necessarily have to hit 60% to make a big profit there. And Sean has told you that time and time again. You could also find me over at picksandparlays.net. My NBA, look, I've had a great NBA postseason right through from 2022 right through this postseason. However, I am transparent, and I tell you the way it is. I've lost the last 2 nights in the NBA. That just means I'm going to bounce back with a vengeance tonight. I will have a winning pick tonight in the Minnesota and Dallas Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals. So stay tuned for that, folks. Make sure you visit us over at picksandparlays.net. Invest a little bit of money to make a lot. All right, we're talking baseball today, guys. And, before we get to the baseball, just some general thoughts on what we saw in the NBA playoffs over the weekend. And, again, we saw Boston advance to the NBA Finals. And but, it wasn't in convincing manner by any way, shape, or form, as they won 3 to 4 games in that series, including the last 2 by 3 points or fewer. And Jesse, you had brought up to me off air that, Boston trailed in like 80% of the time in those first 4 games, yet they come away with a 4-0 sweep. We also had the first time ever that a team had shot 50% or more in each of the first 3 games of the series, and we're down 3-0. So a lot of oddities that happened in that Boston-Indiana series, Jesse.
Yeah, it was unfortunate that Tyrese Halliburton went out in Game 2, I believe, halfway through Game 2. That didn't do the Pacers any favors. I mean, going into the series, I had the Pacers on the plus 2.5 games, so I did lose that bet, and it was doesn't feel right seeing the Pacers go home with their tail between their legs after what was impressive playoffs for them in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and Sean, we discussed this off air as well, is that I thought the big difference here, not only Halliburton going down, but when it came to crunch time, especially in the game, the close losses, the overtime loss, there was no excuse for that. They gave that game away. turning the ball over twice in the last 40 seconds with a 3-point lead, and then allowing Jaylen Brown to hit that tying 3-point shot and send the game to overtime, in which they ultimately lost. And then the 2 games in Indiana, I mean, game 3, they had an 18-point lead on 2 separate occasions, the last of which came early in the second half, and they came up short. And the last game, game 4, in the clinching game, I mean, they led for the major portion of that game.
And I think we all thought the Pacers could steal a game or two from the Celtics, right? Just because they could score, and the Celtics would say, "Okay, we'll play with you. We could score some points." Just what do you say? Just bad, whether it's the coaching, bad shooting. I hate to say choking, but
well, it definitely wasn't bad. It wasn't bad shooting.
Yeah, I'm just saying you come to a spot where we've seen the Celtics in conference finals the last 5-6 years. They've been here, right? So and then we have a Pacer upstart team. Let's be honest, you beat a team with no Gianni. The Knicks depleted. Here you come. Here you're feeling good about yourselves, but it's a new frontier for you. How you responding? The Celtics I don't say they're championship pedigree, but a team that's been in games where they've been on the other side. They've been the Pacers losing games like this. So maybe that's the separation here between the two. That's when the game's on the line and players start getting tight, the extra pass comes in, this and that. You feel bad for the Pacers because you could say woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I'm sure the Knicks are saying woulda, coulda, shoulda if we had all of our guys. We'll see the Celtics versus looking like the Mavericks right now. We'll see how that transpires. There'll be a lot of – our guy Ninja will come in here saying the Celtics are overrated because who did they beat? Teams with missing superstars. So, that'll be a fun talk next week whenever the finals start.
I'm only laughing not at what you're saying, Sean, because Jesse once again is peeking at this TV screen because he must have a soccer bet up right now. He's done it twice. He'll shake his head. He'll deny it. But I know him. I've been working with him long enough. What's your thoughts, Mr. Schule? I know that you have some strong opinions on you're not sold on Boston. We talked on another show about you lambasting Jason Tatum in the first 2 games and him. And, since then, he's looked like the MVP of the league in the second coming of Michael Jordan. Anyway, is there anybody else you want to lambaste so I know maybe I could use some props on? Go ahead.
Well, if Ninja does come in here and say the Celtics are overrated, I'm going to join the party with him. If you want to be the best team, if you're supposed to be the best team in the world, they're already planning the parade for you. You'd think that you'd at least play a little bit better against. I mean, they swept the Pacers, but to be on the verge of losing all or 3 of the 4 games against a team that was shorthanded and we wanted to hold it against the Pacers that they beat up on teams without their star players, and then they go in there and they're tight games, 3 of the 4 games with Boston. There wasn't a lot of separation there, and Boston could be in trouble when they face a team that just emerged from the Western Conference, knocking off the number 1 seed. The West is best, and I still believe that. I still think Dallas should be the favorite in the finals.
Yeah, well, they're not going to be the favorite. I can guarantee you that. So you're probably going to get some value if you like Dallas, Jesse. And I mean, again, you make good points because I think it's just like Sean touched upon and I said before. I think the telling difference in the series wasn't so much that Boston was that much better, more so than they've been there and done that in conference final settings in recent years. And their experience paid dividends, especially down final stretches of game. And they didn't panic when they got behind in games either, in which key. I thought Indiana at times, Sean, did with substantial leads or late leads.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what I was probably trying to say. You say it a little clearer because you've been on the earth a lot longer than me. So, your vocabulary is a little better. But.
Yeah, that's a good prop to take. Ross is already done. Talk about a lock. Anyway, my nephew, Jesse Schule, what do you have to say about the other series that's going on right now? And game 4 takes place tonight. I know we're talking baseball today, but let's touch upon game 4 and what we've seen so far in the Minnesota and Dallas series. Again, a similar type of scenario where, Minnesota's been right there with a chance to win in a couple of these games. and it's been Dallas. And again, Sean brought it up on another show, and he's correct. I mean, you got two closers on this team and two elite closers in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. And I think that's been a telling difference in those close games that could have went either way and has propelled Dallas to this commanding 3-0 lead.
I think that Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards are showing their immaturity. I don't think they're ready for the moment. And seeing them come up short late in games, missing the crucial shots that would change the game in the final minutes, it's hard to expect them to make it here. After they've had, what were they, combined 0 for 10 in the last game from beyond the arc, and you see veterans struggle like that. Guys that have been around the block, guys that have already sort of proven themselves, can have the confidence to cut. But when it's your first time on this stage and you come up short after all the talk, after all the bravado, after pretending you're Michael Jordan's son, after proclaiming you're the best shooting big man in the history of the game, and then you go 0 for 8 in a crucial game 3, do you flip the switch and just start hitting those shots in this game? I don't think so. I think they're cooked. I think they're done.
Yeah, I think like we touched upon last week, Jesse, that, regardless of what Reggie Miller says or not, it's awful obvious to us that Anthony Edwards just doesn't seem 100% physically right now. And we cited several reasons for that. But Karl Anthony Towns, on the other hand, is 100% physical, in my opinion. And Sean, I just think that the moment has been too big for him in a series, it seems to be.
Well, I think we tend to forget the Mavs made some deals to bring in a little more defensive help. And the regular season matchup wasn't with that Maverick team. So it's a different Maverick team here. They play some defense. You mentioned Luka and Kyrie. Towns maybe forcing a little more on defense. He's got up his defense a little bit. The fact that, again, you start forcing shots. They came in cocky, which they should have been, right? They're feeling good about themselves. They swept KD, right? KD and Beal and Booker, that's a great team, right? Oh, it's another 3-headed super team. Well, you swept them. And then you knocked off the champs. You went in there, you took 2 early. Yeah, they showed some resiliency, right? They were down. We thought they were done in the water, like, oh, boy, look at this team. I mean, they rallied back. Were they down 20 at halftime on the road? So they got to be feeling pretty good. Now, though, I could see them just being a little like, I don't know what it is with the two of them. Listen, they're a good team, but the old crawl before you walk. We've talked about this in other series. We've talked about the Thunder against the same Maverick team. Like, are they young enough? Could they been there, done that with, Kyrie's been in championships. Luka is a conference finals guy, but he's a superstar. So veteran, get some time under his belt. I like the Mavs should wrap this up. Let's be honest. Wrap it up.
I mean, looking ahead, Sean, if indeed that occurs, and you would think that's eventually going to occur. I don't know if it'll happen tonight. We don't know if it's going to happen tonight, but if it does, Jesse had mentioned he thought Dallas should be the favorite against Boston, which, I think that's just.
I didn't really mean that in a betting sense that they should actually be the.
Well, you didn't know. People take us literally, everything we say.
Yeah, we got to.
So you
guys know what I meant.
I know. Yeah,
I'm with Jesse where
Dallas.
I'll be like in Dallas in that series just because I got two guys.
Somebody's going to chime in and say this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's saying Dallas will be a favorite against Boston. That's my only point. My point is, folks out there, before you make a stupid comment like that, that's just Jesse showing his hand that he likes Dallas over Boston when indeed that series eventually transpires. Sean, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, I was going to say the same thing as Jesse. Like that. I mean, you don't say they should be favored because they're going to look at the what are the Celtics, 75-20 or something on the season. They got the big numbers overall. They were the favorites to start the year, right? They made their deals. Everybody loved them. It's the Celtics to go to the finals. Here they are. But this is as much as baseball, you could find a wild card team, a couple pitchers get hot and you're like, wow, how you have Arizona and Texas in a World Series. Basketball's not really, the stars kind of separate and those teams kind of make it. But you had a Maverick team and it was like a ho-hum kind of squad, but now they're starting to build a little momentum.
They weren't ho-hum down the final quarter of the regular season.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They made the deals. All of a sudden, they start winning a bunch of games down the stretch, going 17-1 or whatever they were. And the fact that you got two killers there to close out games, they got they're not, either guy will take the big shot. They don't care. And Kyrie's hit the big shot against the Warriors and won the championship. So dangerous team. I'm with Jesse. I like the Mavs.
You got to think that Luka is going to be very inspired tonight because he's got a chance for the first time to get to the NBA Finals in his career and do so on their home court. Besides, so a lot to look forward to there. But again, if I'm leery of anything, Sean, it's the line in this game. With Dallas just being a 1.5, 2-point favorite on their home floor, up 3-0, and this is after opening as a 3-point favorite in Game 3. So the odds makers are telling me here they don't think it's going to be quite as easy to sew this series up as a lot of people may think. That's
just them loving the Wolves because they had a great defense during the year, and
they
no way Towns could be. He can't be 0-8 again from 3, and Edwards. And
you look at Dallas. I mean, again, in Jesse's defense, you look at Dallas's play throughout the playoffs. They beat a very good Clippers team. And the quality opposition they faced to get here. Minnesota knocks off the defending champion Denver Nuggets, but first round they beat Phoenix and did so quite handily. But I'm not so sure how good Phoenix really was beyond their core group. I think they just traded too much away. To keep those three players, Beal, Durant, and Devin Booker. They traded a lot away their quality depth, and I think that, again. And in any event, the West is obviously the more balanced conference. Everybody expected Boston to be here. I don't think anybody had a definitive pick in terms of the media, in terms of who was going to come out of the West. And look, here we are. The number 5 seed in the West is one game away from being in the NBA Finals. All right, let's get to Major League Baseball, because those of you out there who are not familiar with our style, this is a podcast. It's not a free pick video. You're not going to get instantaneous answers in 3 minutes. And if that's what you want, that's fine. There's a lot of shows out there, including on this channel. You could do this, but that's not us. In any event, folks, I hope you learned something from our discussions in terms of your future handicapping. All right, let's get to the games at hand. And my man Lenny, I don't know who he wants me to call on first. He's going to want me to call on Sean Higgs. And it's the Astros and the Mariners. And right now the Mariners are a minus 135 money line favorite. The total in this game, 7.5. And Sean, Mariners coming off a 3-2 win last night in the opening game of the series. And Luis Castillo gets the call for the Mariners. Hunter Brown, who's been sort of disappointing to start the season. What's your take on this one?
And I am a Hunter Brown guy. I have a Hunter Brown Space Cowboy signed jersey from down here in Sugarland when he was playing. But listen, last year he came up. He was pretty good. Got a little bad down the stretch, which you expect for a rookie to come up. Terrible start to the year, though. The guy's been bad. And look at these. I mean, the numbers on him are just 28 hits the last 12 innings, 18 earned runs. I'm not a 478 batting average against. I'm going Seattle here. Now, and Seattle's not an offensive club. They're in first place because the Astros started terribly. The Rangers have 7 starting pitchers on the disabled list and missing bats. They're here, another slow start. Instead of being in third place, they're in first place because you got a couple other teams that are struggling. But give me some Castillo here. He's been red hot. ERAs and stuff like that, Ross. I know you and Jesse, we kind of like to go to the whips. So forget about his ERA. The whip of a .98 or something, his last 7 starts, he's dealing pretty good here. .98 on the last 7, so it's about a month of games for him. That's what I like to see. And again, Seattle's not really hitting. A 3-2 dogfight last night, but Brown has just been so terrible. The Astros on the road have been ho-hum, even though they're hitting a little better. I'll take a 160 instead of the 130 here because I think the bats will get a little wakier versus Hunter Brown. So I'm going to go Mariners big money payday, plus 160 on the run line.
Yeah, not only Hunter Brown, 7.75 ERA in 9 starts, but how about this? 3 road starts this year, 19.95 ERA. And Jesse, Whip, yes. Me and you put a little more emphasis on it than Sean, even though he does account for it. But we feel a whip is more indicative of how well or how bad a pitcher is pitching. In those 3 road starts, not only a 1995 ERA, a 391 whip, and averaging only 2.6 innings pitched per start. What's up with that, Jesse?
Looks like an auto fade to me. I had the Mariners last night, so I'm all about riding the Mariners here. Though I will point out, though, I'm not sold on the run line as much as I think Sean might be getting greedy here.
Yeah.
You guys might want to, somebody might want to hit up Google and check this out. But I think the Mariners actually lead the major leagues in 1-run games over the last 2 seasons.
Probably they
That
can't
might be
hit.
something worth checking out.
You know
They
what
can't hit.
I would be more inclined to agree with Sean if you're going to use a run line here, which I'm not going to use. I would look at the first 5 innings. And hear me out on this, folks, because the bottom line is you look at Seattle's bullpen over the last 7 games, their ERA is over 6, and Houston's bullpen has been terrific. So if you like the big advantage you have with Luis Castillo over Hunter Brown, and the fact that Hunter Brown is really not giving you any innings, he's not only getting crushed, he's lucky sometimes, especially on the road, to get to the 3rd inning. So then you have to account for Houston's bullpen, which is under 2 in terms of ERA and a very good whip over the last 7 games where, like I said, Seattle's over 6 in that regard. I'm looking right now to see what you would get on Seattle in terms of, in the first 5, you get no break, okay? Because it's basically the same as what the game money line odds are of minus 130. In terms of laying a half a run, you're looking at getting a plus 110. So if I can eliminate the one part that I don't like on Seattle right now, their bullpen, and agree with Sean that we have a distinct advantage here in terms of starting pitcher, I would be more inclined to go lay a half a run in the first 5 and go plus 110. That would be the way I would go about that game if indeed I used it. All right, but let's get to the next game. And that's Jesse Schule. And he's looking at the Cleveland Guardians, who are just playing tremendous baseball, albeit coming off a 8-6 loss at Colorado yesterday. They're playing at Coors Field. Right now, the Indians are a minus 145 money line road favorite. The total in this game is 10.5. Colorado's playing a little better of late, Jesse, but the Indians coming off a loss, but still 19 games or so above 500. Who would have thought that at this particular juncture of the year? I don't know if it's sustainable, but we don't care if it's sustainable. Right now, we're just looking at a 1-game situation and what happens here tonight.
And I'm looking at the total, so I could care less about whether they win or not. But I'm going to look at the total. I like the over here. Yesterday's game, 8-6, 14 runs scored, only 1 home run. Hitter-friendly weather here in Colorado again today, so there might maybe more than a few home runs today. It's Ryan Feltner going for Colorado. 1-4 with a 5.07 ERA, whip of 1.44. This guy's consistently below average as a starting pitcher. Tristan McKenzie, who is known to be quite a solid starter for Cleveland. However, I'm looking at his walks, 3+ walks in 4 straight starts. You don't want to be walking guys at Coors Field. I did mention the 1 home run only yesterday, but something that I wasn't quite as aware of this as I probably should have been. But in addition to Coors Field being a big hitter's park as far as home runs goes, the altitude apparently also affects the fielding. The opponents trying to judge the velocity of the balls hit into the outfield. Apparently, it's so different than the fields they're used to that you get more drop balls. And I wasn't quite aware of that. Were you guys aware of that?
Not so much as how it really favors the hitters. No, but I'm glad you brought that up. I was not fully aware of that. But a couple things here, Jesse, supporting what you're saying. First of all, here's an undervalued thing that a lot of people overlook when it comes to, especially Major League Baseball totals. Okay, is if an umpire that's slated to be behind the plate is a hitter friendly or a pitcher friendly umpire. Well, Bruce Dreckman is scheduled to be behind the plate tonight. He's been behind the plate 10 games this year. 9 of those games have gone over the total, and there's been an average of 11.8 runs scored per game. Jesse also mentioned Ryan Feltner, 5.07 ERA, 144 WHIP. 9 of his 10 starts this year have gone over the total. And, really odd is the fact that with that 5.07 ERA, he's actually pitched much better at home with a 3.94 ERA at Coors Field. But again, his WHIP is up there, Jesse, at 144, which leads both of us to believe that when pitchers have a below 4 ERA, but their WHIP is approaching 150, they've been more fortunate than good and more lucky than good. And only 3 of his 10 starts have happened at home this year. So you could say, well, yeah, he's 9-1 to the over. What's he had? 8 home starts at Coors Field. That's not been the case. The thing that concerns me with your over is Tristan McKenzie. He's in good form over his last 3 starts. He's been solid for most of the year. And the bottom line is he's had 1 career start at Coors Field. That occurred 2 years ago. And he went 6 innings in that game and only allowed 1 earned run, striking out 6 and walking 1. Sean, what's your take here?
I like McKenzie, but 2 years ago, he's a different pitcher. He was healthy that year. The guy was a 2.96 ERA that season. 44 walks in 190 innings, go to 190 Ks. He's got 31 walks in 50 innings this year. So he was hurt last year. He only played a couple games. So he's kind of, you look at his walks for the year. This is a problem with the kid. 2, 4, 6, 3, 2, 1, 3, 3, 4, 3. He's going to walk 3 or more this game. He's going to put guys on base. I kind of like the over here. Like Feltner, yesterday I was like, Gomber, and I was all on Gomber yesterday in the midday money show. I'm like, Gomber's been good. And all of a sudden they scratch him. They still end up winning. I don't want anything to do with Feltner. Over would be a good play here because as much as I like McKenzie, the walks, he's got to get his walks back in order. I don't know what it is. He's whether he's it's obviously a release point kind of thing because the strikeouts aren't there either.
Something in mechanics, usually when you see a pitcher that didn't have control issues up to this point of his career. I will say this though, Sean, even though that's a great point. I mean, he's walked 10 hitters in 18 and third innings over his last 3 starts, but he's also only given up 11 hits, which he's not getting hit. So again, you're flirting with disaster though.
4 home runs. I know is 11 hits.
Yeah, well, and you would think with that type of ERA at 2.45, those are all solo blast. You know what I mean? I don't know what other way to equate that other than the fact that he's pitching very smart right now. But by the same token, in Sean's defense, he's
playing
also
with fire a little. I think.
Yes, he's been quite fortunate, and it's a matter of time. And you don't want to be walking that type of ratios per innings pitched when you're at Coors Field. Because
Colorado's been hitting the ball as well of late.
Yeah, they have. I mean, you look at yesterday they had 8 runs and just 8 hits, which means they hit the. I'm not looking at the box score, but they had to have a few home runs in that mix, right? So we'll see. Anyway, Jesse likes Cleveland and Colorado over 10.5. Sean, on the other hand, I'm looking at his game. He likes the Seattle Mariners. He says lay the 1.5 at money line odds of plus 160 over the Houston Astros. All right, let's look at my game, and that's the Miami Marlins and the San Diego Padres. This total opened at 7.5, and it's down to 7. And I'm seeing, in terms of the betting trends right now, a heavy action on the over. And yet we've seen this total go 7.5 to 7. And when it comes to San Diego, it's not weather related because very seldom, if ever, is the weather impactful in terms of a total. And Jesus Luzardo of Miami could look so good at times, and he has recently. He struggled on the road this year in 2 starts, but in his last 3 starts, and all of them, granted, it came at home, an 0.92 ERA and an 0.66 WHIP, and averaging 6.6 innings pitched per start. So he's not only pitching extremely well, he's also going deep into games. And the same thing with Matt Waldron. He struggled at home. He's 0-4 at home with a 6.75 ERA, but he's turned it around over his last 3 starts overall with a 2.81 ERA. So both pitchers, in terms of their last 3 starts, are in very good form. And then you look at both bullpens, and both bullpens have pitched tremendous over their last 7 games, which is what I like to look at with bullpens. I don't like to get too caught up with overall numbers for the season. I want to know how a bullpen has done recently and in recent form, and both of these bullpens have pitched very well of late. And then you look at the fact that these teams, let's see, they've played 9-4 and 1 to the over since 2022 in their head-to-head matchups, and that includes 7-1 to the under in the 8 games played at San Diego. So I'm going to go under the total here, guys. I think we're going to see a low-scoring pitchers duel here, and the bullpens being as strong as they've been of late. I'm looking at a 3-2, 3-1 type of game. I'm going under the total of 7 in Miami and San Diego. Jesse?
I would have to agree with you, Ross. The Marlins offense isn't inspiring a lot of confidence of late, and the Padres, they've been a big disappointment offensively as well. So the under certainly makes sense.
Yeah, and to your point, the Marlins are averaging less than 3 runs scored per game over the last 7. And Sean, they've been the Padres, Jesse brought them up, been very, underachieving, disappointing, whatever you want to use the terminology or that you want to describe it as. But this is a team with a hell of a lot more offensive talent than they've shown so far. And at some point, and I'm not willing, again, we're talking about that inside straight kind of thing. We got a 3 and a 4, and we got a 6 and a 7, and they're due. Well, yeah, I mean, you're due. Are you going to stay in on an inside straight to try to catch a 5 against a guy who's got 3 or a pair showing? No. I mean, so the bottom line is that until they show us as some type of offensive consistency, and against a starting pitcher right now in Jesus Luzardo, who's been really good over his last 3 starts. It's hard to make a projection that San Diego is going to wake up offensively in a game like this.
Yeah, and the Padres are really a weird team. I don't want to say they're like Toronto of California, but like you got like some big salaried offensive guys, and you see them struggle and be a 500. This is not just this year. We saw them last year, the same kind of thing. They, try to get to the playoffs. It's a weird team. And Miami, somehow they're to the over on the season, 30-25 to the over. And the offense is atrocious, but the pitching was so bad to start the year. I like Luzardo. I liked him with the A's. I had a Cy Young ticket on him like last year, 2 years ago. I thought he'd be, a solid pitcher. I like the under because you see 7. It's like, wow, it looks too low, right? It's one of those things where in today's baseball, it's such a
and it opened at 7.5 too. So
yeah. And it's, you think, oh, it's Manny Machado, it's Tatis, it's Bogart. You think like 30 home run guys and hits all over the place. And Miami started so bad. The perception is this is a 8-4 kind of game. It's really not. This is probably yesterday's game was 2-1. I'll be shocked if this is another 3-1 type game here with these guys.
The other team you compared to the Padres to in terms of getting off to a slow offensive start again, Sean, it slips my mind.
I said Toronto because it's like an underachieving team. You got some big contracts and big names, but they're not.
But would you agree? You do have big names, but would you agree in terms of actual star power, improving consistency?
Padres would be over.
Yeah, it's that.
I'm just saying from a point of
I got you.
Yeah,
the correlation. Yeah.
People are just. They see the name like, oh, it's Vladdy Jr., it's Aaron Judge. They see the big name and expect.
Yeah.
What they expect out of the name brand recognition.
I think the Padres are a team to keep an eye on. I think, like Jesse likes to say, the regression. I think we're going to see some progression here in terms of the Padres eventually. But like Yogi Berra always said, it's getting late early. Especially when you're in the same division with the LA Dodgers. So they need to wake up, and they need to
How are they
wake up.
12 and 18 at home?
Yeah.
They're 12 and 18 at home.
You know, Juan Soto
That's crazy.
said that he hated playing at San Diego. He's not because of the weather, not because of his teammates, but in terms of hitting offensively at Petco Park. And, I was under the impression Petco Park had become a much more friendly hitting ballpark since they moved the dimensions in, right, Sean? But, there's something to be said there. When you got a team with that much offensive talent and firepower, and they can't get it going at home. So, all right. So our picks are: I like the Miami and San Diego game under 7. Sean likes the Seattle Mariners -1.5 plus 160 as a run line favorite over the Houston Astros, and Jesse likes the the Cleveland Guardians and the Colorado Rockies game to go over 10.5 runs. Jesse, tell folks a little bit about what you got coming up at picksandparlays.net, or any hot streaks you like to share with the audience.
Yeah, I swept the Major League Baseball card yesterday. I briefly appeared number 1 on the leaderboards for NBA for the season at Picks and Parlays over the weekend, and then unfortunately I've been knocked off my perch there. But I do have 1 baseball, 1 hockey, and 1 NBA available on today's card.
There you go, Jesse Schule over at picksandparlays.net, folks. Look at all the leaderboards, including go back and start looking at the archives of annual production in terms of units earned and win-losses, and you'll see Jesse consistently right there up the top. Sean, you're a veteran over at picksandparlays.net. People are very familiar with you there, and they're very familiar with your style. And share with the audience in terms of what you may have coming up, what's been going on of late, and why they should purchase from Mr. Higgs.
Well, of late, I'm number 1 in the money last 7 days. That's being led by baseball, which I think I'm the number 2 or 3 capper overall on the site with baseball. So a lot of baseball. I got a 3-pack up today. So go get it. You get it. You want? I'm going to throw out a bunch of games out there. I'm a volume kind of guy. I don't think no one's really close to me. I'm about 100 or more games over everybody else. I'm over 300 games, and we're nice plus money here on the site. So
nobody's ever going to come close to you in terms of volume, but the bottom line is that you've proven that you don't have to hit a high percentage to make a great profit in Major League Baseball. And Sean, also you want to emphasize with the folks what goes along with the volume handicapper is how important money management is.
Yeah. You got to just kind of grind that. You can't just go in and just bang one game and not another or all of them. You get wiped out, hurry. A 4-1 day could be a 1-7 day or an 0-4 day. And next thing you know, you're like, can't do that. The baseball season's so long. And there's so many games. It's smaller bets, more bets for me.
Yeah, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, as opposed to money management with me and Jesse and the price point you set to bet per game, yours would have to be significantly lower. And the reason why I say that is because you don't want Sean to get off to a bad start with you, and then you're down a lot of money and you're betting scared. Now you start reducing the size of your bets, and then he turns it around and goes 11-4 in the next 2 days, and you're still down substantial money.
Yeah.
So
it's got to be a flat, same kind of rate.
Yeah, but it's got to be at a lower price point, not because me and Jesse are that much better. It's just because of the volume of games. Does that make sense, Sean? I mean,
Yep.
Okay.
Jesse, that makes sense to me. Yeah, I mean, it's the other. See, the people. Listen, you guys know they want everybody's looking for the lock. They just want to come in and just bury some kind of game and put in a parlay with something else and think it's easy money.
There's no.
You see me? I'm taking a -1. I'm taking a plus 160 instead of just laying a 130 here. So
yeah,
that's how I think.
I don't think it matters which one of us you're talking about. I think if you don't win for them on day one, half of them are gone for day two anyways. I know I had a guy hit me up on YouTube the other day. He's like, I signed up for your package. You won. Like, this is the first, you're the real deal. I was like, well, that was just one day, man. That's one. I am the real deal, but that is let's not start making proclamations after one
Yeah,
day,
too many
win or lose.
too many people don't look at the big picture, and they like to jump on handicappers that are 17-3 in their last 20, which all of us have been in that boat before. But it's also, well, I'll tell you, going on those runs are something we do, and we do quite regularly. But to maintain that type of winning percentage is impossible. So you really want to choose a guy that's going to make money for you over the long haul. And all three of us are capable of doing that, and our records are indicative of such. So, again, folks, it's not what have you done for me lately? It's okay, let me do some research on this guy. Let me hear their analysis. Let me see how they're doing in the big picture in terms of longevity, big sample sizes, good winning percentage over a big sample size, or in Sean's case, a very good profit or return on investment over a big sample size. So that's something you got to keep in mind, folks. And too many of you out there, you're like storm chasers. If the weather, you're chasing a hurricane, that eventually these hurricanes are going to die down. Okay, and if you get stuck in the same location, there's nothing to film. All right, so again, I understand why you guys do that, and it's our job to promote when we're red hot, but also stay with us over the long haul. And it's like Jesse said, because I won the first game after you bought a package and you're calling me the real deal. I am the real deal, but you can't make that judgment on just one day, on anybody. So, all right, Jesse, there's a like button right underneath, buddy.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button, folks. Just a small token of your appreciation for the time, work, and effort we put into bringing you a quality show each and every week. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel on top of liking us. And we'll be back next Tuesday with another edition of the Wiseguys Sports Betting Show. For Jesse Schule, Ross Benjamin, Sean Higgs, and Detroit Lenny, take care and God bless, folks.